Rio Bravo is a large and highly themed log flume at Parque Warner Madrid, and I think it was the world's wildest log flume. Notice the past tense though. Unfortunately, there was a recent change to this ride that neutered its signature moment. That being said, it is still a fantastic ride, and I'll explain why in this review. Gold Coast, Australia's Warner Bros. Movie World opened an incredible log flume in 1998. The ride was originally planned to be named Rio Bravo after the 1959 film of the same name, but the park decided to name the attraction Wild Wild West after the upcoming 1999 film. Due to licensing disputes, the name was adjusted to Wild West Falls Adventure Ride in 2001, but much of the ride remained the same. The ride features a giant rock mountain with 2 drops, and the layout includes a backwards section plus some western set pieces. This ride opened to rave reviews, so when Warner Bros. Parque Madrid opened in 2002, it's not too surprising the park wanted a similar ride to be added. Spain's flume would be named Rio Bravo. That would make sense given the naming issues the Australian flume had, but this park instead named the RCCA wood coaster next door Wild Wild West, and just 2 years after that one opened, that ride's name had to be changed to Coaster Express due to more licensing issues. But back to the flume. While Rio Bravo and Wild West Falls have nearly identical layouts, they have different manufacturers. Australia's version was built by Hopkins Rides. Meanwhile, Spain's version was built by Intamin. I believe this change occurred because Hopkins filed for bankruptcy in 2001. Rio Bravo is placed in the Old West Territory section of the park, and it looks great. The ride's wooden station building blends in perfectly with the rest of the land's architecture. Then you have the Rock Mountain. It's a spectacle seeing boats head down that final drop. Then the mountain itself is colossal and has a similar aesthetic to Big Thunder Mountain. The side facing the Midway looks incredible, however, the back side is just an unthemed box. This is apparent if you view the ride from specific angles, or you look towards the show building during the backwards portion of the ride. But that's a minor nitpick that most people won't ever notice. The ride looks great from the main viewing angles. This is one of the most popular rides at Parque Warner Madrid. If you visit in the summer months, this ride regularly has a 30 to 60 minute wait. The longest waits will occur in the afternoon. Water rides in hot climates always draw large crowds, but that's especially true when you have a ride as revered as this one. So how can you beat the crowds? There are 4 options. First, visit this park in the cooler months. Just double check the ride isn't closed for a refurbishment. Second, head here at opening. It's sort of towards the back of the park, so you can get a quick ride or 2 before most people get back there. 3. Ride this later in the day. People are less receptive to getting wet as the sun starts to set. Just check when the ride is scheduled to close. This closing time is posted on the park website and by the ride itself. Typically, this ride will close 2 to 3 hours before the park does. 4th, use the Passe Corre Camino Skip the Line Pass. This is an extra fee though. Rio Bravo is included with all tiers of the pass, or you can purchase a one-shot. The price for one-shots varies by day, but it will cost you roughly 9 to 12 euros. The ride features a multitude of boats. Each holds a max of 8 riders, as there are 4 rows of 2. The ride is advertised as having a theoretical capacity of 1,400 people per hour, but there didn't seem to be enough boats on the course to achieve that. The actual capacity appeared to be 30 to 40% less. Rio Bravo is a moving load platform. When it's your turn to ride, the park lets just enough people onto the platform to fill the next boat. Seating is then on a first-come basis. I used to have a strong preference for the back of the boat for the superior airtime, but the forces are pretty equal across all rows now. I would avoid the front row though if you don't want soggy shoes. There's one point in the ride where that row gets extra wet. Once seated, you may be shocked to find there are no restraints, not even a seatbelt. There is a grab bar in front of you, but it doesn't actually hold you in. You also need to take all your bags with you. Keep that in mind if you have anything that you don't want to get wet. That is part of the reason this park is a vending machine outside the ride's main entrance selling waterproof bags for your electronics. Once dispatched, you slowly float past some rundown western buildings. I believe one of these is actually the ride's maintenance shed, so it's cool how they got it to blend in with the experience. You also pass a crane. While this moves on the Australia version, It is static on the Spain version. That brings me to my biggest issue with the Madrid's version of this ride compared to the original. The theming is not as good. The set pieces themselves look good, and they're mostly there, but they simply do not have any movement to them. I don't know if these effects broke over time, or if they simply were never added to this version, but it really is a missed opportunity. Another unfortunate omission is the lack of audio. Multiple scenes in Australia are placed over sound and music effects. Much of the Spanish one takes place in silence, which does hinder the overall atmosphere. But back to Rio Bravo. You quickly reach the ride's first lift hill, which takes you into the mountain. This structure is themed to a gold mine. Atop the lift hill, you are brought into a room with some mining equipment plus some atmospheric lighting from lanterns. I prefer the scene on the Australian version because you have a TV screen with some cowboys who eventually fire at you. The scene on Rio Bravo is a lot more passive. The boat boards a turntable and rotates counterclockwise. You then exit into a backwards drop followed by a bunny hill. This was once one of the scariest moments of any attraction. The backwards drop had some good zip to it, but it was the bunny hill that was downright terrifying. It delivered a bona fide moment of ejector airtime. Remember, you have no restraints, so you and your bags would go a foot into the air. I was shocked a moment like this could exist with zero restraints. I loved the absurdity of it when I experienced it in 2019. However, when I returned in 2023, this moment had been neutered. Whereas the boat used to freely head over the plunge in 2019, the drop now seems trimmed. A series of drive tires slow your entry. This has two cons. First, the main drop is less punchy. You still get a bit of a freefall sensation, and those in front still get a tiny bit of airtime at least. Second, you have far less speed over the bunny hill. This is the bigger issue. This significantly weakened the airtime. There was none in the rear rows this time. Those in front get a little pop of airtime though, as it feels like the boat drops out from underneath you as you're pulled down the bunny hill. The backwards sequence is still fun and better than most flumes, but it just doesn't have the power it used to. In its original form, that bunny hill is one of the best airtime moments of any ride, coasters included. The resultant splash is not too big. You then float backwards away from the mountain. There aren't any sets during this portion, but the trough has some nice rock work alongside it. You eventually board another turntable, slightly rotate counterclockwise, and depart going forwards. On the Australia version, this directional change is oddly done without a turntable. Instead, it's done with a tire, but Intamin and Parque Warner went with a more conventional turntable. You exit through a rock canyon. You are warned of falling rocks. On the Australian version, some of the boulders actually move, which adds a sense of real danger. You don't get that in the Spanish version. You just get to appreciate the detailed rockwork. You then float past some Native American teepees. Interestingly, the trough also gets a tad turbulent here as you have some small rapids sending mild splashes into the boat. It's a neat addition to have this on a flume. Then comes the best themed sequence on the ride, Dodge City. This is a fully fleshed out western town with so much to see. You pass multiple props and buildings that have clearly been ravaged by crime. This would have been better if 3 effects on the Australian version made its way over here. 1. When you pass under the archway bearing the town's name, the population swivels downward, suggesting another fatality. I saw the piece that swivels in Spain, but it was just sitting there motionless. 2. None of the doors and windows swung open. In Australia, this was timed with gunfire, but again, in Spain, you don't have that audio. 3. The water tower is not leaking here. This creates a fun near miss on the Australian version. Rio Bravo then heads in the mountain for the second and larger lift hill. This lift is oddly barren compared to the rest of the ride. It's just a plain wooden tunnel with nothing to see. At the top, you enter a room filled with explosives. I was expecting some sort of audio or visual effect, but nothing happens. It's another passive scene. Instead, you just board a turntable and quietly rotate towards a set of doors. The boat then exits going forwards, rams those doors open, and you navigate the ride's climactic final plunge. This is a great drop. It is very tall for a flume. I believe it's about 7 stories tall, much like its Australian counterpart. It offers a small pop of airtime for all from the steepness and also some good zip to it. It also has a lot of mist, so those in front will get moist during the descent. Then comes the splash. This is easily the wettest part of the ride. This sends a massive splash towards the boat. Your entire upper body will get very wet here. In the rear rows, it is advisable to lift your feet at this point because the floor of the boat will start to fill with water and it'll take its sweet time draining. If you're in front, your footwear is getting wet no matter what you do. The splash causes water to pour over the nose of the boat. You then float back to the station, ending the 1,827 foot or 557 meter long course. This takes about 6 minutes to complete, which makes it one of the longer flumes out there. So what would I rate Rio Bravo? In its current condition, I would give this ride a 9 out of 10. This is easily one of the best flumes out there. Few flumes have better set pieces. I love the Rock Mountain and Dodge City sequence in particular. Then the drops are well above average too. You have one backwards plunge and that giant drop at the end, and this ride is super refreshing on those hot summer days. The reason this ride loses a point is because the experience has degraded over time. The Bunny Hill was once the ride's standout moment. In fact, it was one of the best airtime moments of any ride, but it recently has been tamed. The motion and audio effects seen on the Australian version were non-existent here. If the park could restore these two items, Rio Bravo could potentially be my second favorite flume in the world after Splash Mountain. But as it stands, I prefer a few other flumes to this one, including Wild West Falls. That being said, this is still a fantastic attraction and the best water ride in all of Spain. So those are my thoughts on Rio Bravo at Parque Warner Madrid. What are your thoughts on this Intamin flume? Is it one of your favorite water rides as well? Let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed this review, I would appreciate it if you gave this video a like, and you considered subscribing, because there'll be a lot more roller coaster and amusement park videos here at Canopy Coaster. Thanks for watching.